Hey guys, so getting married is like getting a tattoo. In fact, I think the psychological mechanism behind getting a tattoo is basically the same as why people get married, generally speaking. Um, Getting tattoos has baffled me for a while, for a few years. I've really wondered what the hell is the point of a tattoo and why do people get them? If you have a tattoo and you get a tattoo, I don't care. I'm not judging you. I don't hate you. I'm just analyzing a phenomenon, and who knows? You might have gotten it for a reason separate than the one I'm about to talk about here, so it may not even apply to you. But it's always baffled me. Why would anybody get a tattoo? Because you are getting a permanent inking on your body. And let's say you get a tattoo when you're 18 and you live to 100. You now have this permanent ink on your body that's going to last you the next 80 years. And I was always like, aren't you a little concerned that your tastes might change over the next 80 years? Or what if your personality changes over the next 80 years? Why do you have to get a permanent inscription, be it words or a quote or some, freaking cartoon character or whatever the fuck? Why do you have to permanently inscribe it onto your flesh? When there's a possibility, they say change is the only constant. What if you change? So it's weird to me because it seems like either you're not aware of the possibility that your personality and your tastes might change over the next 80 years of your life to the point where you're going to think that tattoo is either ugly or stupid or no longer compatible with who you are. Either you're not aware of that fact, and so you ignorantly and foolishly make the mistake of getting a tattoo, or you're totally aware of the fact that you might change, but getting a tattoo is almost like a rebellious gesture. It's almost like a rebellion against change. It's almost like a way to put a big fat middle finger in the face of change, in the face of the only constant. So how does this tie into marriage? Well, there's an interesting similarity there. Because just like your tastes and your preferences and your personality might change over the span of 80 years when it comes to your tattoo, who's to say that your tastes and your preferences and your personality won't change with your marriage partner over the next 80 years of your life? Getting married, just like getting a tattoo, is a commitment and it's an assertion that you believe you are not going to change in any fundamental way to the day you die. The tattoo is permanent and it'll last to the day you die, and your marriage is permanent till death do us part. So it's weird to me. It's a little weird to me that you would commit yourself to resist change. Because that's basically what both of these things are. It's a commitment and an assertion that you do not think you're going to change in any substantial way, which is incredibly idiotic and incredibly moronic when you think about it. Because, if change is the only constant, then it's almost like you're rebelling against reality. Like that's like a common principle of the universe. Change is the only constant. Yet you're going to resist the one thing that's universally apparently true. Now, whether or not change actually is the only constant, I don't even know that's technically true. But the way I see it is, why invest the rest of your life into it's almost like there's no even need to make the investment. Like with marriage, for example. You don't have to, if you love somebody and you feel totally compatible with them and you want to spend all your day with them all the time, and if you guys truly are destined to be together forever because you're so compatible, then wouldn't you guys just naturally spend all your time together? And wouldn't you guys just naturally end up spending the rest of your lives together? You wouldn't need to get married and have a marriage contract to assert and get on your knee and propose and assert that we will be together forever no matter what. If you guys are truly compatible and meant to be together forever, then you'll just be together forever. Why do you have to assert it as if you don't think you're going to be together forever? In sickness and in health, in good times and bad times, till death do us part. Why would you have to make a commitment to be together forever if you guys were meant to be together forever and you guys are a perfect compatible match? Because you guys love each other right now and you feel so connected right now. The mere fact that you think you have to secure your permanence, secure that you're going to be together forever by making a marriage contract, signing legal paperwork, and asserting that you're going to be together forever no matter what, implies that you think at some point in the future, your whole things might change. You guys might not be so compatible. So we got to say we're going to be together in sickness and in health, in good times and in bad times. It's almost like getting married is an admission. You don't think you'll actually be together forever, which is what I think marriage is fundamentally for a lot of people. Not everybody, but for a lot of people. I think fundamentally what marriage is about, it's actually more about a fear of being alone than it is about love for your partner. It's more about possessiveness and a fear of being alone. I would say that's probably one of the more fundamental psychological mechanisms going on. And I used to believe in marriage. I was in a past relationship, a long-term relationship, lasted around 7 years, and I was totally believing that we were going to be together forever and we're going to get married and all that, cliched, standard operating procedure stuff. But then I started to have an awakening. And I realized that it just wasn't for me. And now I find that there's no real rational defense for marriage. Maybe the only rational defense for marriage I can think of is having children. But again, that has nothing to do with whether or not you're compatible, whether or not you're a great compatible choice for each other. That's just two people forcing themselves to be together, not because they love each other, but because they're just trying to give the child a good life. So it's still not even a really good argument for marriage. So I found that there's no real rational argument for monogamy or marriage. So I do think that part of it could be that people, I do think part of the psychological mechanism for why people seek the permanence is because they are afraid of being alone. So permanence is a way to prevent, being single again, and people will force themselves into miserable marriages where they're angry, they're arguing, they're jealous, they're checking people's text messages to make sure they're not talking to other people, and they just become psychotically mentally ill. And this is what passes for love in our modern society is crazy, is absolutely crazy. So I do think that there's something similar between marriage and tattoos. And I know this is kind of a random jumping off point, kind of a random thing to go into, but I found it interesting. I've thought for a while, what is the psychological mechanism behind getting a tattoo? Why get a permanent thing? What's the point of that? You might change. Are you not at all considering how you might feel in 30 years from now? You think you're going to be the same person in 30 years? What is going on? Why do people seek the permanence? There's something about permanence that people want. There's something appealing about permanence. And maybe it's a fundamental sort of existential thing. Could be an existential anxiety. What happens when you die? It's the ultimate statement of impermanence. Your whole body will disintegrate into dust in the wind. And mortality, impermanence. You don't live forever. You don't live permanently. So maybe that's what it's about. Maybe getting tattoos, or maybe the psychological mechanism behind wanting to get married. These sudden, just emotion-driven, let's jump all in, irrational things like getting a tattoo or getting married. What is it about that? What is going on? What is the psychological mechanism? And I think that's part of it. I think a desire for permanence is part of it. A desire to somehow overcome the fact that everything comes to an end. And that's why I've said it before, that all marriages end in tragedy. All relationships end in tragedy. And the reason I say that is because, one of you is going to die first. You might get all your happiness from each other, but the sad thing is that one day one of you is going to die, be it in a car crash or a freak accident or old age. And when one of you dies, the other one's going to be left alone. And will you be able to function as a person without having that partner that you've invested your whole being into? How are you going to function if that person is no longer there? And it's very common. It's very common that people who are in relationships, married for their entire lives, 80 years together, it's very common that when the partner dies, the one that's still left to live starts to deteriorate very soon after, because their whole being was wrapped up in their partner. And now that their partner died, they have lost all reason to live, and they start deteriorating quick. And they follow soon after. It's a very common phenomenon. So I think there's something there. I think that's part of why people like tattoos. It's a way, it's like a gesture of permanence. It's like an assertion that I'm not subject to the universal law of constant change. Everything might be changing around me. The world might be this never-ending hodgepodge of altering states and ups and downs, and best friends die, and your cat dies, and your dog dies, and everybody dies, and old neighborhoods get torn down and built up by new, nicer, modern homes. Old inventions get thrown out for new inventions, and it's just this never-ending chaotic symphony of changing states. But you know what? I'm going to resist that by getting a tattoo or getting married. There, in your face change, in your face change. This is how I'm going to rebel against change, with a fucking tattoo that I might totally think is ugly and pointless in 30 years. But hey, anything to do this stupid, irrational, emotion-driven thing like getting a tattoo, or for that matter, getting married. It feels good when you propose, because you're like committing yourself to this immortality. You get on your knees and you propose and you say, we're going to be together forever. And you commit yourself to this immortal thing. You see, everything might be changing constantly. The world might be coming to an end eventually. I'm going to die eventually. But you know what? I committed myself to you, and I can cling to that permanent gesture of immortality. It just doesn't make sense. So I just wanted to do this quick video. Literally, I just crapped this out of my soul. Came out completely off the cuff. Just wanted to throw it out there. But I think this topic deserves a revisiting, and maybe even a live stream to dive into it more hardcore, because I think there's so many layers to this. Anyways, thank you guys for watching.